I checked into a hotel late, exhausted, and ready to collapse into bed. The lobby was quiet, lights dim, and the woman at the desk stared at me with worry instead of a welcome smile. When she saw my room number, her voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, don't go to room 304. I thought she was joking or being dramatic, so I smiled, thanked her, and went anyway. Big mistake. At 3 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of scratching at my door, slow at first, then desperate, like someone trying to claw their way into my room. When I finally opened it, I didn't see a ghost or a prank. I saw a woman with shaking hands and terrified eyes whisper, "Don't let him find me." What happened next turned a normal business trip into one of the scariest nights of my life. My name is Raina, and I wish I listened to that warning. Before I tell you everything, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. This story is real, and you're going to feel it. I had been traveling for work as a nurse for the past year, moving from city to city, hospital to hospital. Some nights were chaotic and intense, with emergencies keeping me awake until sunrise. Others were quiet shifts, followed by lonely hotel rooms and takeout dinners. Traveling alone can be calming, even peaceful, but it can also remind you how small and fragile you are in a big world. That evening, I landed in a mountain town I'd never visited before. My brother, Marcus, called while I dragged my luggage across the parking lot. He worries like it's his full-time job. He has always been the protective type, ever since we were kids, and he decided he was my personal bodyguard. "Text me when you get to your room," he reminded me, "and don't stay somewhere sketchy." I rolled my eyes, even though he couldn't see me. "It's a normal hotel, Marcus. Calm down." "I mean it," he said, firm. "Check locks, door chain, everything." I laughed. "You act like I'm staying in a cabin from a horror movie." "I'll be fine." He didn't laugh back. "Just be smart." I promised I would, hung up, and stepped inside. The lobby was quiet and warm, with soft music playing and a fireplace glowing against the stone wall. A few chairs sat empty, magazines untouched. It was the kind of peaceful hotel that makes you think nothing bad could ever happen there. The woman behind the counter lifted her head as I approached. She had gentle features and tired eyes, like someone who had seen far too many long nights. She greeted me kindly, but kept glancing at the hallway behind me like she expected someone else to walk in. When she saw my reservation and my assigned room, everything in her body shifted. Her smile faded. Her hand paused mid-air. She leaned closer and lowered her voice. "You don't want that room." I blinked. "Excuse me?" She swallowed. "Room 304. Don't take it. I can move you to another one." I stared at her, confused. "Is there a reason?" Her hands trembled slightly as she passed me the key card anyway. "Sometimes it's better not to ask questions. But please, don't stay in that room tonight." I stood there, tired and caught off guard. I've worked in hospitals. I know what fear looks like. Her eyes had it. That quiet panic people get when they know something, but can't explain it out loud. If I were smart, I would have listened. I would have changed rooms. But exhaustion and stubbornness make a dangerous mix. I smiled politely. "I'm sure it's fine. I just want to sleep." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, then shut it again. Instead, she whispered one last thing as I turned to leave. "If anything feels wrong, do not open your door." I nodded, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling crawling up my spine. It was probably just an old building with a strange reputation, right? Hotels have weird stories all the time. I walked down the hallway toward room 304, suitcase wheels echoing against the quiet carpeted corridor. The air felt still, like the hotel was holding its breath. I had no idea I was walking into a night I would never forget. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and comment where you're watching from. This is just the beginning, and it gets much worse. Room 304 looked perfectly normal at first. Beige walls, clean sheets, soft yellow lamp on the nightstand. The kind of room that should make you sigh with relief after a long day. I rolled my suitcase inside, shut the door, and leaned against it for a moment. My shoulders relaxed. I told myself the receptionist was just superstitious. Every old hotel has stories. Still, I double-locked the door. A warning said calmly is different than one whispered with shaking hands. I dropped my bag on the bed and pulled my phone out to text Marcus. Made it. Room 304. Alive. Please relax. He responded instantly. 304? Why that one? Move if it feels weird. I smiled a little. Paranoid big brother strikes again, I muttered. I reassured him I was fine. Then I kicked off my shoes and headed straight for the shower. The warm water washed away the airport stress. And for a moment, everything felt normal, safe. But when I stepped out and wrapped myself in a towel, I noticed something odd. The bathroom mirror was slightly fogged except for a horizontal streak, like someone had wiped across it earlier with their hand. I stared at it, a tight feeling forming in my chest. Maybe housekeeping missed a smudge. Nothing more. Still, I wiped it completely and got dressed faster than usual. Back in the room, I pulled back the curtains to check the view. Dark trees, empty parking lot, one flickering lamppost. The kind of quiet that isn't peaceful, but too quiet. Like the night was listening. I turned the TV on low just for background noise and laid in bed scrolling through my phone. Eventually, my eyelids grew heavy. I turned off the lights, rolled onto my side, and let myself drift. The sheets were warm, the pillow soft. My last thought before sleep took over was, I overreacted. It's just a hotel room. It wasn't. Around 2:58 a.m., I woke up suddenly. No noise, no dream. Just my body reacting like someone had whispered my name right next to my ear. My heart started beating faster before my brain even caught up. The room felt colder, heavy. Then I heard it. A slow, dragging sound at the door. Soft at first, like someone lightly dragging their nails across wood. Back and forth. Slow. Testing. I froze. My ears strained toward the sound. Scratch, pause, scratch, scratch. A cold rush washed over me. My body knew danger before I could process it. I sat up silently, staring at the dark outline of the door. My breath stayed caught in my chest as I waited for the noise again. Scratch again. Longer this time, like claws scraping at the surface. I whispered without meaning to, "What is that?" Another scratch. Faster now. Not calm, not curious. Desperate. My heart pounded so loudly I felt it in my fingertips. Sweat gathered in my palms. I moved slowly, feet touching the floor, trying not to make a sound. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and typed a shaky message to Marcus. Someone's outside my door scratching. 3 dots appeared immediately. Get out of there now. Call security. Don't open it. The scratching stopped. Sudden silence. I held my breath, staring at the door, waiting for footsteps, for anything. Instead, a whisper came. Soft, trembling, broken. Please, help me. It wasn't a monster's voice. It wasn't a man. It sounded like a young woman barely holding herself together. Pain, panic, fear. I stood frozen, every instinct colliding. Part of me wanting to yank the door open and help, the other part screaming to stay back. My nurse brain argued, someone is in trouble. My survival instincts whispered, someone wants you to think that. I stepped closer, barefoot on cold carpet. I pressed my palm flat against the door, just to feel if someone was leaning on the other side. Instead, something brushed back, fingertips sweeping across the wood. My entire body jerked away instinctively. Please, the voice whispered again, shaking. He's coming. Those 2 words flipped a switch inside me. He's coming. Who? Was she running from someone? Was she dangerous herself? My throat tightened. Who's coming? I whispered back. A small sob came through the door. Don't let him find me. My stomach dropped. Panic sparked in my chest. I backed away slowly, eyes glued to the door. Then my phone buzzed again. Marcus. Calling this time. I answered quietly. Raina, listen to me. Do not open that door. Something's wrong. I think someone needs help, I whispered. She sounds terrified. I don't care. Keep the door locked. Call the front desk. Now. I stared at the door, torn between instinct and fear, compassion and survival. Adrenaline flooded my veins. I didn't know it then, but this moment, this hesitation, would change the entire night. Because helping her might save a life, or put me right in front of a danger I never saw coming. My hand trembled as I lowered my phone from my ear. Marcus's voice still echoed in my mind, steady but urgent. Do not open that door. He had never sounded like that with me before, not even when I moved across the country alone or worked overnight shifts in unfamiliar hospitals. Something in his tone reminded me of childhood nights when storms rattled the windows and he made me sleep in his room so I wouldn't be scared. Only this time, I wasn't a kid and this wasn't thunder. Someone was outside. Someone scared. Someone whispering for help. I stood in the dim room, trying to breathe slowly. Fear and instinct battled inside me. A nurse is trained to respond to people in distress. Yet my gut screamed at me that opening the door was the wrong choice. I pressed my ear to the wood. Silence now. No whisper, no scratching. Just heavy quiet, like the hallway was holding its breath right along with me. I took a step back and forced myself to think. If she was in danger, I needed to call downstairs. If this was some kind of trap, alerting the front desk was smart. I grabbed the room phone and dialed the front desk. It rang once, twice, 3 times. No answer. I hung up and tried again. Still nothing. A chill rolled down my spine. Why wasn't anyone answering at this hour? I checked the lock again. Deadbolt secure, chain latched. The small metal chain suddenly felt like a child's toy, flimsy, useless. I pushed the dresser a few inches closer to the door, just in case. Not enough to look paranoid, just enough to make myself feel I was doing something. Then I moved to the window, curtains drawn, but light from the lamp outside filtered through the fabric. I slowly parted them with 2 fingers. The parking lot sat eerily still. A lone car passed by on the street, nothing else. I started to let the curtain fall when movement in the corner of the window caught my eye. A hand pressed flat against the glass from the outside balcony. I stumbled back, heart exploding, grabbing the edge of the desk for balance. My breath caught in my throat as I stared. A woman stood there, soaked from the rain, hair plastered against her face, shaking like she had been running for her life. She looked young, maybe around my age, barefoot, clothes torn, eyes wide and pleading, and she wasn't scratching anymore. She was crying silently, tears mixing with the rain dripping down her face. She lifted one trembling finger to her lips, begging me not to make a sound. Then she mouthed the words slowly, face twisted in fear. "Don't call anyone." My hand twitched toward my phone instinctively. She shook her head violently, eyes begging. Then she mouthed something else, each word sharp and desperate. "He works here." The room spun for a second. My heart thundered so loudly it drowned out every other sound. This wasn't some ghost story. This wasn't superstition. This was real danger, a human threat. She pressed her palm to the glass again, then suddenly froze, head snapping toward the hallway like she heard something. Panic flashed across her face. She crouched low, disappearing beneath my window, as if trying to hide. And then I heard it too. Footsteps. Slow, steady, approaching from the hallway. The kind of footsteps that don't rush because they don't need to, because they already know where you are. A soft knock rattled the door. Not urgent, patient, controlled. "Miss Hale?" It was a male voice. Calm. Too calm. "I'm the night attendant. We received a noise report. Please open up so I can check everything is okay." I stepped backward instinctively, fear washing through me. I hadn't made noise. No one could have heard the girl outside unless they knew she was there. The woman outside shook her head gently from her hiding place, terror etched into every line of her face. Another knock, firmer this time. "Miss Hale, it's okay. Just open the door." My voice barely worked. "I'm fine. I don't need anything." Silence. Then, "I insist." I grabbed my phone and texted Marcus with shaking fingers. "Someone's at my door saying he's staff. The girl says he's the one. 3 dots. Then, do not open. Police on the way. Keep the chain locked. Move away from the door." I backed into the room, heart crashing, staring between the door and the trembling woman outside my window. My instincts were no longer conflicted. I didn't need to choose compassion or caution. I needed to survive. Outside, the footsteps moved again, not toward the elevator, but toward the emergency stairs. Slow, echoing, like someone planning to come around another way. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. This hotel wasn't haunted. It was hunting. And I was next unless I did exactly one thing. Stay quiet, stay locked in, and trust that help was coming. The air in the room felt too thick to breathe. I backed away from the door until my legs hit the edge of the bed. My heart hammered so violently that I pressed a hand to my chest, afraid it might burst through. I could still hear the faint echo of footsteps in the hallway, slowly fading toward the stairwell. Each step sounded deliberate, like whoever was out there wasn't leaving, just repositioning, calculating. Outside the window, the woman crouched low, her hands gripping the railing. Rainwater dripped from her fingers, and her shoulders shook with silent sobs. She lifted her gaze just enough for me to meet it. Her eyes said everything: fear, desperation, a silent plea I couldn't ignore. I whispered through the glass, almost afraid of the sound of my own voice. "Can you get down from there?" She nodded yes, then shook her head no, unable to decide, like even moving might get her caught. She lifted her hand again, pressed one finger to her lips, eyes wide with panic. Silence. My phone buzzed again on the nightstand. Marcus this time, calling. I answered in a whisper. "He tried my door," I breathed. "He's going down the hall." Marcus's voice was calm, but I could hear the tension beneath it. The kind that comes from training, experience, and fear for someone you love. "Listen to me. Patrol units are close. Stay away from the door. Stay away from the window. Is there another exit?" I scanned the room. There wasn't. Only the door and the sliding glass door to the balcony, where she was. My stomach twisted. No, there's nowhere else. A low tapping hit the window. I jumped, then realized it was her, signaling me to look. She pointed down toward the parking lot. Flashing blue and red lights appeared far off, moving slowly, like police approaching but not quite here yet. Relief flickered inside me, but it didn't last. The hall outside shifted again, a faint scrape of something metal, then a soft thump. Someone was testing other room handles. My fingers tightened around my phone reflexively. He wasn't gone. He was searching. A floorboard creaked right outside my door. My breath caught. And then, slowly, the handle moved again. Not aggressively, but gently, testing if my lock still held. A whisper slipped through the bottom gap. "I know you're awake. Better to open before I have to use the lock key." Ice shot down my spine. He had a master key. The chain latch suddenly felt like a joke. I mouthed to the woman outside, "Run. Now!" She shook her head violently, mouthing back, "He's out there." The handle rattled harder this time. A metallic click followed. He was trying to slide the master key card in. A quiet, chilling whir from the lock motor came next. The door trying, but failing to unlock against the deadbolt and chain. My breath shook. I shoved the dresser harder against the door, muscles burning, adrenaline flooding my veins. "Go away," I shouted, voice cracking. "I've called the police." Silence. Stillness. Then a soft chuckle, low and chilling, curled through the door crack. "Emergency stairwell is open. If you want to leave, you'll have to walk past it." My stomach lurched. He wanted me scared, confused, panicked. Then, just as fast as he came, silence swallowed everything again. I couldn't tell if he was waiting outside or watching from somewhere else. The woman outside finally made a move. She crawled along the balcony toward the next room, barefoot, slipping slightly on the wet rail, but catching herself. She looked back at me once more, nodding as if telling me to hang on. Then she disappeared out of sight. I stood frozen in the center of the room, every muscle coiled. The seconds dragged like hours. Then, footsteps pounded up the hallway, but this time heavy, fast, purposeful. A shout followed. "Police, identify yourself." A slam, a crash, the thud of bodies hitting walls. I didn't dare open the door. I stayed pressed against the far wall, heart ricocheting inside my chest. A firm knock shook the door a minute later. "Ma'am, it's the police. You're safe. Open the door slowly." My legs nearly gave out as I approached. I unlocked the chain with trembling fingers, moved the dresser, and opened it just an inch. A uniformed officer stood there, drenched from the rain but steady. He flashed his badge. "We have the suspect in custody. Are you hurt?" I shook my head, unable to speak at first. The woman, the one from the balcony, was wrapped in a blanket behind him, officers surrounding her. She saw me and whispered, voice raw and broken, "Thank you." My throat tightened. "Are you okay?" She nodded weakly. "I am now." Officers escorted us both downstairs. Mrs. Levine, the receptionist, stood there crying quietly, trembling like someone who'd been holding a secret too long. "I tried to warn you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I didn't want another girl harmed." I swallowed hard. Relief and fear twisted together in my chest. My legs felt heavy, like they had been holding me upright on pure instinct alone. A police officer turned to me. "You did everything right. He used to target women who checked in late. You locked the door. You stayed quiet. You called for help." My knees finally gave out, and I sank onto the lobby couch, hands shaking uncontrollably. All the adrenaline drained at once, leaving me exhausted, hollow, grateful to still be breathing. The hotel lobby felt warm and safe now, but I knew I would hear scratching in my sleep for a long time. The reality hit me all at once. I could have opened that door. I could have trusted a stranger's voice in the night. Kindness almost killed me. Instinct saved me. And that woman, she survived because someone listened. I survived because I finally listened too. When everything was finally over, the hotel lobby didn't feel like the same place. The rain-soaked doorway where officers walked in and out felt like the entrance to two different worlds. The one where I arrived tired and annoyed, thinking nothing bad could ever happen in a pretty mountain town, and the one where I sat wrapped in a thin blanket, shaking because I had stared danger in the face and almost opened the door to it. The woman from the balcony sat across from me, clutching a cup of hot tea an officer gave her. Her hands shook so badly she had to hold it with both palms. Her hair was plastered to her cheeks, and she looked like a person who had been running for days, not hours. She kept glancing toward the doors as if expecting him to appear again. Trauma doesn't loosen its grip just because police lights flash. I finally worked up the courage to whisper, "What happened to you?" She swallowed hard. "He followed me from the highway rest stop. I didn't know he worked here until I saw him in the hallway." Her eyes filled with tears. I begged the receptionist to hide me. She put me on the balcony and told me not to let anyone see me. She didn't have time to call for help before he came back. The pieces slid together like cold metal clicking into place. Mrs. Levine, the receptionist, stood nearby speaking quietly with officers, her voice trembling. She had seen danger coming and tried to warn me. She had tried to save both of us. One of the officers approached me with a notepad. "Can I ask you a few questions?" he asked gently. I nodded. My voice felt fragile. "Yes." He sat across from me. "Did you see him? Or hear anything that made you suspicious before the incident?" I shook my head slowly. "Not until the scratching." And her voice. He nodded. "You trusted your instincts. That's what kept you safe. He had a master key. If you had opened that door even a little more, he would have forced his way in." My stomach tightened. I wrapped the blanket tighter around myself. Even after the danger was gone, the idea of how close it came sat on my skin like ice. Marcus burst through the doors minutes later. He didn't care that officers were everywhere or that I was safe now. He ran straight to me and hugged me so tight it knocked the breath out of my chest. "Why didn't you switch rooms when someone told you to?" he asked into my hair, voice breaking with equal parts anger and relief. "You scared me to death." I let out a shaky breath. I thought she was overreacting. I thought it was just some weird superstition. He pulled back, looking me in the eyes. "People don't whisper warnings like that unless something serious is wrong. Never ignore someone's fear." I nodded, tears slipping down my face. "I know. I won't again." The police eventually escorted us out the back entrance, away from flashing cameras. Word had spread fast. Local news vans swarmed the parking lot like vultures hungry for the next shocking headline. But inside, everything felt quiet, still, raw. Trauma doesn't leave room for sensationalism. The officers offered to take me to a nearby station to rest until morning, but Marcus insisted on driving me himself. As we walked to his truck, I turned back once. The woman from the balcony was being helped into a patrol car, wrapped in a blanket like shielding her from the world. Our eyes met through the glass. She gave me a tiny nod. silent gratitude, and shared survival. On the drive away, I stared out the window at the rain-smeared lights, feeling my heartbeat slowly settle. I thought about the moment I heard the scratching, the voice begging me, and how close I came to ignoring it, to shrugging it off as imagination or someone else's problem. There are dangers in the world that don't announce themselves with screams or threats. Sometimes they come in whispers, in tiny warnings, in the uneasy feeling in your stomach you try to dismiss. And sometimes, survival is not about being brave, but about listening to instinct, to warnings, to fear when it's trying to protect you. Back at Marcus's house, he handed me a glass of water and sat across from me like he couldn't let me out of his sight. "Promise me something," he said quietly. "What?" "If anything ever feels wrong again, anything at all, don't brush it off. Listen." I nodded. "I promise." That night, I barely slept. Not because I was still afraid someone would scratch at my door, but because I kept replaying the receptionist's voice begging me not to stay in that room. I kept seeing the woman on my balcony, terrified and drenched in rain, fighting to stay alive. And I kept thinking, we always think danger looks loud and obvious, but sometimes it looks ordinary. A hotel room key, a calm voice at your door, a whisper you ignore. I survived because someone was brave enough to warn me, and because, at the last moment, I listened. If you stayed with me through this story, thank you. Always trust your instincts and listen when someone tries to protect you, even if it sounds strange or dramatic. It might save your life too. Before you go, make sure you subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Stories like this matter, and your support helps me share them. Stay safe, stay aware, and never ignore a whisper meant to protect you.